Hey, welcome back to the almost Thanksgiving episode. Let's make it a good one. So we're talking about doing episode 162 today, and today we want to talk about going to the moon. I'll let Chris explain to you what that means.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about a book that was a surprising favorite. I don't know if I want to call it a favorite, but I really enjoyed this book a lot. It's a book called Rocket Men: The Epic Story of the First Men on the Moon by the author Craig Nelson.
Mm,
I mean, it's about what it sounds. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's about the team at NASA, the all the astronauts. Kind of like not just about like it was like all the Gemini programs and the Mercury programs and the lives with their families and the Apollo programs and it really focused in on Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins and that and their and the famous Apollo crew that went to the moon. But it touched on everyone, like whether it be from what life was like back at like NASA headquarters, what life was like, for the people that were just regular workers, what life was like for the astronauts and their families, what life was like for, them when they went to the moon and the whole experience and when they came back. Like, it was really like a comprehensive book about, just all things the space program that led up to the first landing on the moon. It's a pretty awesome book, honestly. I mean, I'll go ahead and share my screen, but uh, you know, the title of this reflection was per aspera ad astra. Do you know what that means?
no, it
It
sounds
means
Latin to me.
it is, yeah. Well, it means what's at the bottom here? It means through hardships to the stars. That's what per aspera ad astra means. This is what this book made me think about afterwards. Was this was a word that they used, I guess, in it, and I really loved it. I thought it was really symbolic of the human struggle, right? First off, like I said, this was an incredible story, and just to kind of made you feel like you were there with them, like as they were going through this, as they were preparing for these missions, as they were, you know, living at home with their families, as they were getting ready to take off and understanding all the stress and pressure that these guys were under, but all the training and all the crystal clear focus that they were on, and all the hardships they had to overcome, and all the challenges that they endured, and all the struggles that the whole team at NASA endured. And it was really just, kind of just gave you chills understanding like everything they went through to be able to make this thing happen. And it just, makes you, such a great reminder of like, what we can accomplish as humans just in general. But the most amazing part of this book for me was, really hearing the human stories behind the lives of the astronauts, like Neil and Buzz and Michael Collins. They, I don't know about you, but like when I think of like a guy like Neil Armstrong, like he's like a superhero, right? Like, I mean, this dude went to the moon. Like, he was the first guy to land on the moon, to leave our orbit, and to like, I mean, can you imagine how scared that guy must have been? And same thing with Buzz Aldrin, like just being out of the atmosphere. No one's ever gone where they've gone before. It's like climbing Mount Everest for the first time or something like that. It's like one of those things where it's just such an monumental human feat to they had no idea what they were gonna encounter. They had no idea. Like, I mean, they had a thought, but they didn't know what was gonna happen with any of this stuff. So I mean, we typically, I don't know about you. I went to Purdue, which is the school that Neil Armstrong is actually studied at. He's a Purdue alum. So we have more astronauts that went to my school than my college than any other college that's ever existed. We had the first man that landed on the moon, the last man that landed that stepped foot on the moon as of today. That were Purdue alums. So there's the Neil Armstrong Hall of Engineering is one of like our schools. There's a big Neil Armstrong statue. So I mean, there's this dude is a national hero, right? And you think of like guys like Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins as well, all national heroes. I mean, they will be remembered for forever. But what I loved most is it kind of stripped away the idolization of these guys, and it really focused in on what it was like to be them, like like in their family life and their personal life, what happened to them leading up into the mission, and then what happened after the mission. And you know, for Neil Armstrong, like what we learned was they're all flawed. They're all very flawed human beings, you know. Not to you know, be weird about it, but like the book mentioned a quote from somebody that said, "God pity a wandering man." And Buzz Aldrin in his life in particular, when he got back from the moon, his life went to shit. He didn't know, he was so focused on the mission of getting to the moon that he, you know, he kind of forgot what was like to live a happy and sustainable existence here back on Earth. And his mission was accomplished, and when he came back, there was nothing left for him to return to. So he fell into addiction, and he, you know, divorce, and his life unraveled, and you know, just sucked. He didn't know what to do. He literally could not figure out how to process life after all that hard work and that one singular goal. And then all of a sudden, like, that was taken away, and he's like, who am I? You know, and he struggled for almost the rest of his life trying to figure that out. You know, eventually he got back to kind of footing, but like it, you know, Neil Armstrong had the same kind of situations. Michael Collins, not as much, but you know, like these guys were heroes, but they were just humans. They were just flawed humans, and they, you know, so maybe start to think like, if going to the moon doesn't bring you happiness, then like what does? Like, you know, these guys went to the fucking moon. Like, you know, like, I mean, you would think that they would be the happiest dudes for the rest of their life after accomplishing that. They didn't. You know, for me, it made me think, like, start to think about the struggle that they all went through during those 15 years, you know, of when they first started training until that first mission. You know, it was only 30 years after the first rocket was developed, really, that had the capabilities of leaving like the intercontinental, you know, like ballistic missile kind of stuff, right? Like before we got to the moon. So there was about a 15-year period of time when they really ramped up all of their focus on going to the moon, right? And it just made me think about all the people that were involved, like hundreds of thousands of people that worked at NASA, these astronauts and all their families and the lives and all the people that, it was just this huge coming together of humanity to accomplish a singular goal. And in my opinion, the happiness was all during those 15 years of their life, right? Like, I mean, I guarantee you they were never more happy than as a team collectively, you know, and all those people that were working at NASA, whether they were astronauts. I mean, just working, doing meaningful work and working toward that collective mission together around meaningful relationships and just having a shared, you know, purpose together. Like, that was probably the most important part and the most fun part of this whole entire thing that they will never forget. Going to the moon, like, and coming back, like, nobody really gives a shit. And after that, that was when they all kind of started to lose themselves. But like when they were locked in on that stuff, like that was really what I feel like that made them really, really happy. So it just you know, as it, you know, as I kept, you know, thinking more and more about this, like, it reminded me of JFK's quote you know, when he famously said, like, we choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard, because that's the goal, to serve and to organize and to measure the best of our energy and our skills. Like, that's the point, right? Like, life is not easy. There will be pain, there will be trauma, there's suffering, like, and we endure, right? That's one of our values at Clubany. We endure. And that's the fundamental lesson that Amelia taught me. And something that's burned into my memory now at this point in time, just remembering her fight and what she taught me, like, what we're capable of as humans. So I ended this one saying, like, I choose to live my values and my purpose every day, not because it is easy, because it is hard. Like, it is really, really hard to say this is what I care about and that this is what I want to do and this is how I want to live my life. It is not easy to wake up every single day and go run in the cold weather. You know, it is not easy to write this stuff every single morning. It's not easy to read a book every single day. It's getting easier, but the whole fun is the journey. The whole fun is having this conversation with you. I was just taking a nap right before this because I'm exhausted because my son is sick because he's going to daycare for the first time, and I don't know if I'm getting sick, but I was like, man, I'm just beat. But like, I got up, set my alarm to come up here to talk to you because, not because it's easy, because I want to, because this is fun. It's meaningful. It's meaningful work. It's meaningful connections. It's meaningful relationships. This is the stuff that we'll look back on and say, you know, when we're, you know, 80 years old, man, do you remember that one time when we went through 365 books together and like, and, you know, talked about it every single day? It's not going to be like, I don't care like what the fuck happens with this whole project afterwards, but it's going to be this kind of conversation and this kind of stuff that we're talking about, you know, that we're going to remember the struggles and the hardships and look back on it fondly and remember the process and remember everything that we went through together and living our values. Right. So So that's when it comes down to per aspera ad astra, right? Through hardships to the stars. So that was that's the reflection for the day. Yeah.
Okay, so what's the question?
The question is what do you choose to do that is hard, but also replenishing and life sustaining?
Okay, so I think I have mixed feelings on this reflections because I need to quote the beaver again, the beaver must stand, right? To me, it's actually pretty easy for a beaver to be a beaver, and
Right.
it's actually pretty hard for a beaver to be a lion, to be an eagle,
You're
to
right.
be a rabbit. I mean, I think it's hard. I think it's pretty easy to do company. I don't, I don't. The thing is, I think it is hard to do nothing,
Yeah, I agree.
right?
Oh,
So,
that's
so,
true.
so the
Very
thing
true.
is, this is why I say I have a mixed feeling because for me, doing what we do as company is effortful, but it's not hard. It's actually that's
I
because
agree.
we wanted to. Same thing with like Neil Armstrong, Bud Aldrin, right? They wanted to do this. They wanted to train. They wanted to
Yeah.
be an astronaut, and they get to do it. They don't have to do it. They get to do it.
Right.
And you think about it, right? If they'll take anyone, hey, do you want to? And then everybody say no, and the last person they say, okay, well, I'll do it, right? For whatever to endure the hardship. But this the thing is, they are filtering and picking out the best way. People are volunteering to be an astronaut,
Right.
right? So to me, it's not a definition of hardship that I know. Hardship is something you had to do. This is something you get to do. That's
Yeah,
totally different,
I agree.
right? So to me, like you look at the effort they put in for the 15 years of training and studying and conditioning themselves is effortful, but they want it, they enjoy it.
Right.
Same thing for me and you is I don't think this is hard at all. It's effortful. We have to do things. We have to understand things. We have to read. We have to reflect. We have to take the lesson we learn and apply. There's things we have to do, and there's a lot of effort put into it. But for me, it feels easy. Just like I said, beaver, it is. I mean, for a beaver to be a beaver is the easiest thing he can do. He can, if he wants to make his life harder, he can try to be, a pig or a rodent or whatever, an eagle,
Yeah.
trying to fly, right? For example, the eagle, its job is to fly, right? Its natural ability is to fly. For a beaver to run and know how to fly, they can do whatever they can do, but that's gonna be so hard. For me, it's like what is hard is based on your perspective, right? For me to
I agree.
stand in line, it's hard. For me, it's to wait for something without any like wait in line for me is hard.
Right.
For me to do nothing for an hour is hard because I get bored. My brain shuts down, right? Because I'm not. My brains need to be activated to be alive. Otherwise, it just shuts down because if there's no stimuli coming into my brain, it just it's bored and it becomes very the feeling of it is very I dread that feeling. It's a dreadful feeling. Even though I did nothing.
Right.
Think about it. I did
I agree.
nothing. I put no effort into it, but it's hard mentally. So to me, this is why I think, maybe it's not the hardship that I understand as definition of hardship, but I think it's more you have to through the compound effect of doing so many things for so long that it mounts amount to something very monumental, very substantial. And to
Right.
me, this is what I would see as the word hardship. It's not hardship, right?
Yes.
Hardship is like you
Yeah.
have to endure because you uh
It's
I
not it's not
mean,
eat the frog, it's eat the cake, right? It's I'm not saying that hardship means, like
yeah, but I
y-
think it's one of those things where we have to be impeccable with our words because
yeah,
this one has another meaning to our reader or our audience because most people think of hardship as I'm poor or I'm disabled or I don't have faculties I need to do things. I don't have the privilege of information. I am not smart. I can't program. I can't sell. I can't market. I can't lift, heavy stuff. I can't run fast, whatever, right?
Right.
They think those as hardship because, like I say, if you think a beaver trying to fly, that's hardship. But for a beaver to swim and build his dam is the easiest thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
but so
no one can be
but hang on.
better.
Hey, but hang on. Like I know exactly what you're saying and I agree. But we aren't beavers. We can choose to do whatever we want to do. Not that a beaver can't, but we can. It's hard to choose what is aligned to your values and purpose when
It's
you have
hard.
all this other
No,
stuff.
I disagree because
Like,
the thing is, for me, is
no,
I
it's
want to
hard.
be
It's
a
hard to
white
stop the
guy.
other
I
stuff.
want to play tennis, right? I want
Right.
to play football, but it's not possible. So for me
I
to
get
do
it.
that, it's a hardship. So to me, to say we have the right to choose, that's BS.
No,
You
no.
have more
Hey,
choices than Beaver
yes,
in that
yes.
simplicity, but
That's what
you
I mean.
have to still be who you supposed to be. If I'm
I
an
agree.
Asian guy, I need to be an Asian guy. I can't just be a white guy. If I'm a short guy, I can't play. I just can't play basketball. I just can't do it,
Right.
right? If I don't have the physical attribute, I can't play football. I mean, I love football. I mean, when I was like growing up like since like college, right? I know college, I know professional, I know high school, I know every single attribute there is. I'm like a walking football history database. I know
Right.
everything. I even know the football players' wives. Okay,
Right.
who they married to. But
Right.
that's insane. How fast they run, what's their combined, records were, and what they did in college, what they did in NFL, who drafted them, where they go from what team to what team, right? That is enormous amount of football information.
Right.
I am a fanatic of football. I just can't play it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I have to be who I'm supposed to be. If I have the ability to memorize these things, to understand these things, and to be, pretty much anal about the statistics, that's who I am. I can say, well, since I know football, I can go out there and maybe I can be a player. I can't be a player even if I
Right.
wanted to. I can't, right? I have to be who I'm made to be. I have, I would say, a weaker physical, but a stronger mental, right?
Mhm.
So that's what I was made, is my makeup. I can't choose to be something else I am not. That's what I'm saying is,
I
yes,
agree with that. I don't disagree with that. All I was saying is it's not as simple as a beaver must dam because like
but the thing is, we don't understand. That's why we have to make symbolic, you know, kind of a analogies of, yeah, if you can't understand what I'm saying, is I'm going to simplify it. Yes, it's always going to be more than just being a beaver.
right.
Everybody knows that. I'm not telling you to be a beaver, but as a human, you have more variables, right? Those variables are going to be like 10 variables. Beaver has one variable. A human can have 10, 100, I don't know, but you still have those hundreds
Right.
variable, and that could change who you are in that spectrum of your genetic makeup. You can't move that whole spectrum to another. But what we're trying to say is there's so many variables. I can't just sit here all day and all week and tell you every single possible combinations of these variables. I have to, simplify in a way that you understand, like a beaver, right? Imagine a beaver has this, and imagine a human has these number of faculties. You need to extrapolate and see where you are.
Right. No, I agree. I like here's my thing is every single thing that you do in your life is a choice toward your purpose and what you care about or away from it, right? Like, and that's what you mean by a beaver must dam. It's you either know who you are and know which way you want to go and decide and actively choose to do that,
Exactly, because then you
or
have to decide to be who you are. This
right,
is what I mean. This is may not be. I mean, the thing is, when I'm saying you need to decide who you are, decide who to be who you are,
right.
right? That's not very clear to a lot of people because what does
It's
that
hard.
mean? I am who I am,
Right.
but at the same time, I don't know who I am. That's the problem, right? That's the problem. We don't know who we are, right? A
Exactly.
beaver knows who they are because they have one faculty. The only thing they have is I have a waterproof pelt and I can like to swim and I like enjoy the water and I want to build dam so I can have a pool of water to swim in.
Right.
And so for us, we have more than just that faculty, but at the same time, right? We can only do what we're made to do. We
I
can't
agree.
try to be something different because if we do, then all you trying to do is making yourself your life harder.
I agree. I mean, it's hard to find. The analogy that I was getting at with per astra at astra is it is hard to figure out who you are and what you want to be and how you want to live your life. It is hard to do that. It is hard to filter through
Well, it's
all
our perspective,
stuff.
though. I mean, you're looking at hard, right? Hard compared to what? Compared to beaver, yes.
Nothing, just in
But
just in
but the thing
general.
is, if you don't
It's a struggle.
figure out who you are,
Right.
then it's gonna be harder than what you have to find out who you are. It just,
Right.
I mean, let's say you zero out your scale, right? The figuring out who you are is gonna be at zero.
Right.
And then anything else you do is gonna be more than zero. So that's what I'm saying is for the um relative scale, having figured out who you are is going probably the lowest level that you can do. Even though it's more effortful than yes, a beaver, but that's not what we're saying. Is we're not saying that for you to be a beaver, right? It's more complex than that. But at the same time, like I said, you are who you are. You must be who you are. Don't try to be who you're not, because because I for whatever reason likes football, I can be like the Rudy guy and be, work my ass off for what? Right? For one tackle at the end when it's a pity play because they are winning. Notre Dame was winning, and then last minute, hey, this is like a junk play. You put the
Right.
guy in and go tackle somebody. That's your legacy. To me, what's the point? What's the purpose? Right? What's the purpose of me doing that? Because I don't have the physical attribute to be a player, whether I'm a quarterback, a cornerback, or a lineman, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, linebackers, or whatever. Right? I don't have the faculties to do those things, so I just cannot all day and trying to be that because I'm not, like I say, it's a little bit harder to understand. So that's why I'm going to go back to the beaver analogy is, you are beaver versus an eagle. A beaver, it's hard for a beaver to try to be an eagle. And sometimes that's impossible. Sometimes for me to be a football player, that's impossible. And I know it's impossible.
Yeah. No,
Regardless, you can give me a pity label and say, hey, he is a football player. But in reality, I'm not really football. I'm just a pity label. Like the Rudy guy to me, that's to me, I don't know what's the point of Rudy to do all the training he does. And it's harder for him to do because he has a small stature, right? It has to do work twice as hard as the big guys. And he got only one PD play.
right.
One freaking PD play.
Yeah, but you're talking about him right now.
To me, it's not worth it.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that we're talking about him right now. But you know what I think the cool thing about humans is you can find yourself accidentally beavering and didn't mean to do it. Like Buzz Aldrin was a beaver and he was damning. He was built for this. He was made for this. Like this was he didn't know it, but he was beavering all day long in this project, but he didn't know why he was beavering. Like he didn't know sometimes we can even beaver and dam all day long, but we don't even know that that's what we're supposed to be doing. We just do it instinctively and we find our calling.
You will like it when you do things that you're supposed to do. You will like it.
Exactly. And then he didn't know.
You will like it, and
but
you
he
will
didn't know.
you will excel. You will excel at the things you do. Among your peers, you will excel in it. For example, for me, right? I'm a programmer. Okay, I don't study programs. I mean, I turn in literally, in school, I have computer classes. I don't study. I make 100%. I do programs. I mean, I'm like in an hour I can finish a program where it takes other weeks, right? That's the power. It's not that the thing is, it's not that I'm good at anything like that. I'm saying, look, I'm not good. Whatever I was given that talent.
Right.
Similarly, a lot of people are given like a nice voice, right? Or a very tall stature or very handsome features, right? Those are given. It's not to say, hey, you're somehow awesome because you yourself develop that. It's not that. I'm just saying is I'm a good programmer because that I'm so good at it. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
it comes so easy to me. So that's what to me, that's what I'm saying is when you are beavering and it becomes so easy and you love it, that means that yeah, you probably are a beaver.
Yeah, but you're missing my point. Is you can beaver on accident, and that's still beautiful, but you're beavering on accident. It's beavering on purpose, is what we're going for, right? And that's hard.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that is what I'm
So
getting
this is
at.
what
Like,
I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, there is for example, there are 95% of people who are not beavering,
right,
right? There's
sure,
4% of people who are beavering on accident because they are a beaver and they beaver on accident. And there's this 1% who are beavering on purpose.
right,
That's the level of breakdown I'm talking about. Is
yeah,
because most people don't know who they are and they're doing things that they don't want and they hated their life, they hated their job, they hated their existence, right? People get into depression on that. And there's a people who are they stumble onto a career or whatever. They say, hey, I like this. I love being an actor. I love being a programmer. I love being a salesperson or whatever. They stumble on the beavering by accident, right? And then there's the utmost, the maximum level you can achieve is you beavering, knowing that you are a beaver. This is
right,
you doing your purpose on purpose. To
right.
me, that is the ultimate level, but only 1% can achieve it.
Well, hopefully everybody can. I don't think it's some secret that you can't do it. Like
I'm not saying you
but
can. I'm just saying the current
yeah, no,
status, the current stat of the breakdown of the people who are doing that in this current modern day age today is I see a lot of people hate their jobs, right?
yeah.
They say, hey, I just hate doing these things. Why? Because they made me do this.
Look,
Because
I was
when they say they made you, it's because you don't want to, right? That's the thing.
I'll give you a perfect example, and you're dead on, right? Like I was always made to be a sales professional. I love psychology. I love communicating with people. I love trying to solve problems. I love trying to help people to see a bigger picture and to paint a vision for the future. I love thinking in stories. I love talking in stories. All these things, these are all just natural things that come to me. I love leading people and I love coaching people and I love developing them. I was made to be a sales professional and a sales manager and a sales leader. Like, I mean, that is the perfect role and the perfect job of what I could have done. And I did it before, like, and I did it well and I did it and I was good at it, but I hated it. Like, because I wasn't doing it I didn't know who I was. Like, now I went back to this and I chose this role going forward because I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. And I could go do and help other people in this role and do Club Any Light into what we're doing again. And I was like, this is on purpose now. Like, this is beavering on purpose. Like, so it's the same job, same role, same thing, same beavering that's going on. But now, like you said, I'm beavering on purpose in this role versus just accidentally beavering and finding myself in weird environments where I'm like, well, we achieved a lot and now I feel unfulfilled. And I'm like, what's the point? Like, I enjoyed it, but like I was unfulfilled like afterwards. And it's like, you think back to all the stuff
Right,
you
but that's
achieved.
what I'm saying is there's 4% of people who are in that particular bucket. It's
Yeah.
because like most people they hate the things they do, right? For you, you hated the outcome, the way that I mean you still love to sell, you still love to tell story, but you
Right.
hate what you sell, right?
Or
It's
just
a,
or just focus on the goal or focus on some outcome
exactly. You look
or
at
exiting a
Andre.
business or whatever.
Yeah, you look at Andre Agassi, right? He's good at what he does, but he hates it, right? Because there wasn't a goal, right? That's like the 4% that I'm talking about still hates their job,
Right.
but they
Yeah.
still endure it because it's still having some of the elements that they like, right? It just, for example, you say, well, the beaver is in the water, but the water is, you know, putrid or it's toxic or whatever. It's still water. It's still, you know, okay. It's still liquid, fluid, and some
Right.
sort.
Right.
Same thing with Andre Agassi, right? He hates to play tennis until he found his foundation, his charity, and then now he likes it because there is a purpose for the thing that he does, right? So
Right.
combining that, you get that 1%.
Yeah.
Most people hates the job and hates what they are told to do, right? For us, like for me, like I still hate to program, right? For me, is when people tell me to program in a certain way, I
Right.
still programming, but I hate it. But I love it when I program for me and for my business or for my company, right? Because
Right.
that's is what we want to. We get to do it. And
Right.
so for you, it's the same thing. Is you hate to sell for somebody because
That's
you don't
exactly it.
believe in the product, whatever. But for you to say, hey, I want to sell company or I want to sell my culture concept, right? You love it because that aligns with your purpose.
Right.
But you look at the current landscape of our society today. How many people do you think is in the 1%?
It's not very many. I mean, and that's my point. Is like through hardship. This is not. We are choosing to do this not because it's easy, but because it is hard. Like, and I don't mean it as hard as in like I agree with you. It is not hard for me to have this conversation with you. It is not hard for me to learn every single day. It is not hard for me to reflect on this stuff and to spend time with my daughter and to write these things. It is not hard for me to exercise every day. It is hard for me to do this stuff because I don't know if hard is the right word. It is a challenge that I am willing to accept because I know why I'm doing
Effortful.
it.
That's what I'm
Right.
saying. It requires effort, right? It
Right. It's
requires
effortful.
time and
Yes.
commitment,
It's
but it's not
conscious living.
hard, right?
Right. Right.
Hardship for me is like it's not about the amount of energy you put in. It's hardship
Right.
is how you see it, right? Like I
Exactly.
said, you know, I'm very I very dreaded to have to just wait in line. I dreaded having nothing to do, right?
Right.
To me, that's hard on me for whatever reason. It's hard, but it doesn't require any effort. All I have to do is
Do something.
exist,
Do what you want to do,
exist,
you know? Yeah.
exist for like 30 minutes.
Right. Right.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's hard for example for me for driving. Driving for me is hard. I just look. I mean, when I
I do
drive to
too. I hate
Florida,
it. I hate
it's like
it.
it's like I see all these truckers. They drove.
Oh my
That's their
God.
career. They drove like days in and days out for like. I can't even drive 2 hours without like, gee, man, my brain's starting to shut down. I try
I'm
to.
with you.
I mean,
I do actually wonder how the hell long haul truckers do that, like a
but
day
that's
in,
the
day out,
point.
weekend,
That's my
because
point though. I mean, because
they're
you and
like
I
beavering on
can't do
accident,
it.
you know? Yeah.
You and I can't do it,
Right.
but
I
they
mean,
could, right?
they're beavering on accident, most of them. Like, and there may be some truckers out there that are truly beavering on purpose, where maybe they're not only they're not only doing long haul trucking, they're hauling the stuff that they want to haul the way that they want to haul it, you know, for a cause and a purpose that they want to haul it for. That they're like, oh yeah, and like they're just driving down the road all happy as you know, picking shit, and like, you know, and
Right.
they're like, man, I'm bringing this you know, this I don't know, playground equipment across country so I can, you know, build a, you know, so I can deliver it so these kids can have, these underprivileged kids in another city can have a playground or whatever. And you're like, and you know, for whatever reason they can endure cross country travel all day long, you know, dropping off this equipment all day long. And now they can beaver on purpose because they know exactly how they can
Right.
apply their skill sets to areas, the way that they can live their life on purpose, which once again, it's not easy sitting in a truck clearly for 12 for, you know, 20 hours straight driving across the country is not easy. Like, yeah,
I
but
mean,
they
for
can.
me, it's hard. For me,
Right.
it's tremendously hard. I mean,
Right.
for me, it's like I would rather build you an app to
Right.
drive 3 hours. I mean,
100%.
for people that say, "Hey, I'll drive like a whole freaking month for you for me to go and look all the code that this thing is doing," right? That's the beauty of it because the
Right.
thing is, for somebody it's easy for whatever they're doing, but it's hard for others, right? For me, it's easy for me to go through all the code because I actually read code faster than I can read English.
Right. That's
Right?
crazy.
It's
That would.
super crazy. And the thing I can read as ever on a computer. You give me some numbers. Hey, this number here, you know, go through the method and loop or whatever. I can just follow through the number and I can see it. I mean, I
Right.
can see the number. I can give you a number as if I'm a computer. right?
You know,
So to me, that is something that I was given, and I know that not a lot of people can even do that. Most people can't even read the line of codes and fall asleep because they have no idea what it means,
it's another
right?
language. I mean, it's a foreign. It's like reading Arabic, you know, or something like that to me. I was watching Jeopardy tonight, and they had they had this category of math equations and stuff. I swear to fucking God, I'm looking at it and I go, it looked like a foreign fucking language to me, and I was like, I have no idea. Like these people were getting the question right, and you know, literally, I was like, I couldn't even process what I was looking at. Like you know, most of the time with Jeopardy, I can at least like funnel my thoughts into a certain, you know, quick visual or geography or something like that around what I want to like maybe potentially say as a response. But like this stuff, I was like, I couldn't even. My brain just went dark. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I don't even know where I could possibly go from here. You know, like I mean, I just it was just like a blank stare, and this is how math has always been for me my whole entire life. Whenever I see a math equation and I get a math problem, I'm just like I mean, I just don't get it. My brain just doesn't
Yeah,
work. Like it
I mean
won't process.
that's me. I'm opposite, right? You give
Right.
me ask me, what's the proposition and what's the main, the author's, his emotions, his intent. It's like, don't give me that shit. You give me like if one train goes to to this direction and at this angle and I travel this speed and he start at this time and the other train go that time, and I can figure it out pretty easily,
Right.
right? See, all these number, it start to form pictures in my mind. And
Yeah.
if you ask me, hey, what's the prepositions, what's the main idea of the story, what's the whatever, I was like, uh I have no idea what the author is, his main idea was. I don't know. He said a lot of things.
Right. Yeah, I know for sure. I mean,
But
I'm
like I
with
said,
you.
if you look, I mean, for me, I'm a chemist, right? I look at the compound. I can tell you where it comes from, and its affinity. I mean, it just naturally comes in.
Right.
It's not I mean, it's not hard, but there's a lot of processing that happens in my head, right? For those kind of things. But you ask
Mhm.
me a simple questions like, hey, should this have a comma or does it have a comma? I don't know. I just
Right.
don't. I just like stare at it as if it's a foreign language to me. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like
What is a
it's
foreign
not
language?
it's not that it's not that I can't comprehend logic. It's that I just don't understand the symbols. Like, you know when this data, when you have a some kind of creatives or sometime text or
Right.
whatever, what's the meaning of something like this? I mean, whether it's in Vietnamese or in English, I still don't know, because for me, translating into my head isn't right. Same thing
Yeah.
with reading. Is for me is I can't take in as much information as I could, as fast as I could. But when I go and listen to my ear, and like through the audio through my ear, is I can go 2x, and it's like slow to me. I can
Right.
process all the information. It's fine. So there's nothing wrong with my brain. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
that my faculty will heavier in one versus another. Same thing, like I said, go back to what I'm saying is, you can't be something that you don't have the characteristic for the faculty for. It's just not going to help you,
I agree. I
and
mean,
you're going to
yeah.
suffer, and it's become
It's
hard, right?
it's not fun. Yeah, like you may find yourself getting good at it, but you're always constantly going, why the fuck am I don't want to do this every single day. You know, like uh I'm struggling with my outdoor running right now because I hate running in cold weather. I hate it, but I'm trying to force myself to do it because you know, challenge myself is one of my core values, you know. And that's when I'm get to spend time with Amelia's exercising and living my core value. So like even though I hate it, like with a passion, like you know, even through living your values, like you can still get through stuff that you absolutely hate, like which, you know, I'm not saying that this is what I want to do. I'm just doing it just to like test myself and to try to challenge myself to try to bring that value out of me. But at the same time, like if you just forced me, if you just told me that was what running was, I would be like, I'm good. Like I don't want to do that. Like I mean, this is not easy for me, and I'm only doing it because it's not easy. But that, you know, that's like a small example, I guess, of it. But the one last thing I wanted to touch on with this reflection in particular before like we run out of time here tonight is the the concept of like we're the moonshot, the literal landing on the moon, right? Like we have a goal with this project. but I don't fucking care. Like, I don't, you know, like we may get to the moon someday, like in, you know, the proverbial moon, I guess, if you will, quote unquote, of finishing this project and going far beyond. But like, why stop at the moon? Go to fucking Mars. Go to as far as you possibly can go, you know? Like the point, I guess what I was trying to get at is the process is the fun part about it. Like this conversation with you is the fun part. It's not getting to 365 books and doing 365 podcast recordings or starting a culture and having 100,000 people in it or whatever. Like there's no, I don't care what that goal is. It just is, do the stuff that you want to do. Don't even think about the moon. Like, you know, like it's not, who cares? Like if you happen to land on the moon someday while you're doing the stuff that you love, like that's called conscious living, right? Like, I mean, and then you go, well, shit, we made it to the moon. Like, let's keep going to the stars, you know? Like, I mean, like, let's just keep going. Like, I mean, what's, if you love what you're doing, just keep enjoying the process and love what you're doing every single day. Like that's really the message that I wanted to get across in all this stuff, is because when you set a goal for the moon, the literal moon, and you don't, and you, whether you can beaver or not your way there, like if you don't know why you're beavering, you know, whether you like it or not, and then you set a goal, you know, with your dopamine and all that other stuff of our futuristic, you know, goal setting and everything, and then you accomplish it, like, and you didn't know why you got there in the first place. I don't give a shit if you can beaver and that felt good while you were beavering on your way there. You're gonna be Buzz Aldrin when that's over, like, you know, because you don't know why you were beavering and now you can't beaver anymore, you know, like it's like like, and then it's the worst, like when you find the ability to beaver and then you don't know why you were beavering, and then you take that beavering away from people, like that's when shit gets fucked. That's when shit gets real fucked, you know, like when you're like, man, I've seen what it feels like to have fulfilling, meaningful work every single day. I don't know why, but I saw it, and then I got to this goal with all these meaningful relationships. I don't know how, but we did it, and now it's gone. And you're like, man, if this is what makes us happy, and now I can't have this anymore, like what, that's the worst. Like I don't know, I almost would rather never have been a beaver than to beaver not on purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you know, the ingredients has to be there for you to reach that 1%, because, you know, you have to beaver and you have to have a purpose. Because you look at Bud Aldrin, right? He was beavering, but he didn't know. He was beavering by accident.
Right.
But the moment they took away the river, right? He doesn't know how gonna do beavering. But if you know your purpose, you know that you're a beaver. When the river dries up, you know, hey, because I'm a beaver, I'm gonna find another river.
Right.
But Arjun did not find his river because he didn't know he was a beaver. He was beavering by accident. So for me, the advice that my personal opinion is, you have to find your purpose if you want to reach that 1%. Because once you have the purpose, the the beavering, the action will actually come very easy.
Yeah, I agree.
You think about it, because you think about, you know, hey, this is who I am. I'm a beaver. So if I'm happen to be on this river and I'm making this dam, right? And it's this dam, for whatever reason, got blocked by another dam by a human or whatever, I'll go find another one. But if you don't know your beaver, when you were enjoying, you have this happiness, and suddenly the water dries up, what do? You have no clue where to go. You don't know who you are. So how do you move to the next step? You don't know. You just jump into the water and you experience joy for the time being, like beaver by accident, but without the purpose, right? How do you know how to take the next step? Where do you go? And that's the key, is you have to have the ingredient of a purpose. So find that first. Find who you are supposed to be, who you have, what kind of faculty you have is advantageous to who is it that you're supposed to be.
Right.
And once you have that, then the rest comes easy. Andre Agassi hate to play tennis, right? But he loves it whenever he has a purpose. He has a particular reason why he's doing something. So the act of beavering can be more morphed into the things that you do today. Just like, for example, like I don't like to program for other people. I mean, I still do, depending on their particular like their roadmap and the directions. If
You
the
would program
direction,
you would program for me if I asked you, I bet. Like, I
because
mean,
it aligns with what I want. right? It align because thing is there. It has these like
But I'm not gonna ask you because I know what unless I absolutely want to ask you, unless that aligns perfectly to what I know both of our purposes are that we're trying to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't abuse that privilege because like
But thing is, it's a yes and a no because even if you ask me to do something and it doesn't align with me, then it will be more dreadful for me to do the project because if I don't agree with the project of the talking about like what was it the packing app for example, right? I can do it, but I would be struggling to do the packing app because I don't believe in it. You know what I mean? But you talking about like, hey, let's do the pickleball booking or whatever. Yeah, I can do that. I can
right.
all right. To me that's easy, right? But to do the other one, which is even simpler than the booking, it's hard. So it's a relative concept that we have to navigate, and
Right.
without the purpose it's hard to find your beavering, right? Your beavering, you can beaver by accident, but if something happens and that river dries up, I mean,
I
you
feel
lost again. You look at Bud Aldrin, you look at your dad, for example.
right.
He doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He said, well,
Yeah,
I don't
but my
know.
dad, my dad's a very natural sales professional, just like I am. Like, I mean, that's what he did his whole entire career. Um, uh, but uh, um, but but now he doesn't know how to apply that because he's like, well, the goal was always retirement, right? The goal with the moonshot was retirement. The goal was I got to get to 65 years old and then I can go do what I want to go do with my life. And then when he gets to 65 years old, he goes, what like I don't know, like I mean, what like, but the goal of beavering and doing what he did his whole entire career, that he was naturally good at was to get to 65 to retire, like like I mean, like that's the perfect example. My dad's moonshot was get to 65, have this amount of money saved up, and have this amount, have whatever it all is, and then I'll figure it out from there. Like, but that's not that's the backwards. Like that's like going to the moon and saying, well, I'll figure out what I really want to do when I get back from the moon. You know what I mean? Like no, you figure out what you really want to do on the way to the moon. And while you're and then when you get back, then like you said, when you get back, like you can go find another onto the next star, like keep going, like like don't stop there. Like I mean, my dad has so much more life to live, like and he's gonna figure it out, but like he could have been doing that all along, like through hardships to the stars, right? Like, and it's not easy. But I was gonna write down. I'm sending you a Slack message right now. So beavering on purpose is a new one.
Well, I think beavering on purpose should be the reflection because that's what I think.
Oh no, but
I'm not sure what per aspera ad astra means. I just
I mean, it's through hardships to the stars. Keep going, man. Just keep going. Keep find what you like to do. Find your purpose, and
yeah, just
keep going to
the
the stars,
hardship
man.
just kind of stopped me in my track. Hardship,
It's you have to you got to suffer for your
I
purpose,
think
man.
I
Like
think I had
like that's what I mean.
hardship before I found my purpose, right?
I
So
agree. You got to suffer for your purpose, in my opinion. Like I mean, like there's like purposes don't come. We talked about this along the way. Like I don't think that you find your purpose. I think your purpose finds you, and I think you find your purpose through hardship. And that's really where people like.
but the thing is, that's the thing is that's the current landscape. But I truly believe that there's a better option than to go through hardship to find your purpose.
I agree. But I don't.
So
I
so
mean,
this is more of a personal goal, a personal objective is to say how can we find purpose without giving this guy an atomic bomb,
I
right?
agree.
To me, it's a little bit more. I mean, there's more ways to skin a cat. So I don't want to skin a cat by just dumping into the fire, you know. Uh, so that's something that my hypothesis is. Hey, I think there are other ways. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I'm right there with you. Like, let's figure this thing out because I agree with you. I don't think that I don't
I
want
mean,
people to
it's
experience.
one of the way,
Right.
right? One of the way to find your purpose, right? And it's 90% of the people who find their purpose is through hardship. but it's not the only way. That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is I don't think that's the only way. So
You
I
know,
want to know what
I
are the other ways besides hardship.
great point. And I know there is other ways. Like I'm listening to my first Ryan Holiday book, the guy that does the Daily Stoic thing that I've showed you before. He like I just finished the first book with his. It was called the obstacle is the way. And I've always been hesitant to talk about to read a Ryan Holiday book because I thought honestly I thought he was kind of like Brianna Wiest. You know, remember when I told you about Brianna Wiest? He's a philosopher. He's like when he wrote the obstacle is the way, he was like 25 years old or something like that. He wrote like 3 books before he was like 26, and then he just keeps going. And he's like one of those social media personalities, and you know, kind of things like that. Like that was the impression that I got of him was you know, oh, like this is exactly like Brianna Wiest, you know, and I'm like, why am I listening to a 27-year-old tell me life advice about, you know, the obstacle is the way? Like, what fucking obstacle has this guy ever gone through? Like, yeah, writing a book's an obstacle, but like, what's a real obstacle you've gone through? Is what my head was getting at when I was reading. And then I read it, right? And then the reason I'm sharing this is I don't know why, but I think Brianna and Ryan and other people like that, they've found a purpose through. I don't know what they found how they found their purpose, but they found their purpose. I don't know if they're beavering on accident right now or they're beavering on purpose, but like they're definitely beavering, and I'm curious to understand where that came from because like he knows what he wants to do. Like, and that was one of the things that I really enjoyed most about that book is I could feel it coming across in his writing, and I could feel it coming across in how he lives his life. And same thing with Brianna. Like now that I think back on it, like, you know, and that's cool and that's impressive. But I don't know. The reason I'm bringing this up is to answer your question of maybe there's somebody that we could look at that potentially has found purpose and beavering on purpose that maybe didn't come through an atomic bomb that I'm aware of because they didn't talk about it. I feel like they would have talked about it if they you know, if that purpose came through that, you know. So I'd be curious where that purpose came from. Or maybe, you know, they just haven't hit their atomic bomb yet. They think they have a purpose and they're just waiting until, you know, when they're 40, they'll wake up and they'll go, well, shit, I thought I knew what was going on, but really, I don't know anything. You know, I don't know. Like it's
I don't know shit. You don't know shit. So
right.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's a philosophy. So we gotta go and say, well, okay,
Yeah.
let's see if there is other ways to get to a purpose besides going through hardship and pain and drama.
I agree. Let's figure this thing out, man. All right.
All
Well,
right.
that's a good place to end it on. And thanks everyone for joining. And this is a good book, so check it out if you're interested in the moon landing and the first astronauts that went there. But question we can leave for you is what do you choose to do that is hard, but also replenishing and life sustaining? You know, let us know. And if you have an answer to our question that we just posted at the end there, please let us know as well. So because we don't know anything. Thanks a lot for joining, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you. Good night.